Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2. It's time for another super mini mail call. Let's see, I got a couple boxes over here. There's still a bunch of stuff back there that I need to get to as well. But we'll start with this really big one right here, which comes from Tim in Hackettstown, New Jersey. Very nicely double wrapped box here. So it's so big, I think I'm just gonna put this on the ground here and I'll cut it open over here. All right, well, this appears to be, contains complete system ready to hook to your TV, TRS-80 color computer. I'm assuming the first one. This is awesome. Where's the, I don't remember when I got this. How long has this been sitting here in the basement? According to my sticker, I got this back in March. Now, I don't really remember. Was this something that we talked about in email or what? Fortunately, I'm so behind on my emails right now. I'm so behind on everything. But this box is in pretty good shape, all things considered. And I'm going to poke inside and look, and there's a letter in here. So, hi, Adrian. Greetings from New Jersey. My son Reed and I are longtime fans of your channel. He's an electrical engineering major, and I was the technical editor of PC Upgrade magazine back in the early 2000s. So your videos have really given us a terrific bonding opportunity. Thanks for that. Enclosed, you'll find two non-functional vintage computers that I picked up, a Radio Shack CoCo 1 and a Timex Sinclair 1000. The Timex is good cosmetically, but the paint around the CoCo 1 keyboard is a complete disaster. Neither computer powers up at all, so hopefully you'll be able to get them working, or at least use them for parts. Sincerely, Tim. P.S. I've also included a New Jersey treat of saltwater taffy straight from the Jersey Shore. Enjoy. Well, thank you. And Tim, you know, this reminds me, so I was at VCF East. Let me try to get back into view of the camera here. I was at VCF East in the townships along the Jersey Shore. That's where that was. And when was East? Well, I got this package in March. I'm already forgetting when I was there. Wasn't VCF East at the end of March or so? So this would have been sent a little bit before that. Anyways, what I was trying to ask is, did you manage to get out to, and I'm knocking everything on the floor, including my cell phone. This is what happens here in the basement. Things are all over the place. Did you happen to get out to VCF East to meet me in person? Because yeah, I was right there. And in fact, one of the nights we went out for dinner and drinks in Asbury Park, was Bill Hurd, myself, a bunch of VCF crew, Fran Blanche was there. Yeah, some viewers and stuff like that. So it would have been really cool if I met you. I hope I did get to meet you. And it's weird, I'm talking to you through the camera. I'm sure you're watching this with your son, or maybe not. But yeah, it was a really great experience, VCF East. I met so many people, so many fans, viewers, just people who enjoy the channel. And it was a bit of a blur. I kind of wish I had like a way to record all my encounters with people, like Google Glass, because people would introduce themselves and I would ask, you know, what's your name and everything. And then they would tell me, and then immediately I'd forget because I'd already talked to like 20 people before. So anyways, okay, cool. Well, thanks, Tim. Let's, I have this down on the floor. I'm opening the box here and let's take a look at what we got in here. I'll just bring it up onto the bench, which is here. So look at this cool manual. Okay. TRS-80 color computer, really nice shape. To our customers, how to hook it up. This is when manuals actually came with things and they were actually useful. Operation of the machine, yep. Joystick, terrible, but you know, there you go. Cool, simple manual with a cool look to it. Okay, next up, Radio Shack, the premier name in microcomputers. Look at that. So we have Model 4, it looks like. Interesting. I'm trying to think of what year the CoCo came out with the chiclet keyboards versus the Model 4. And then we have a TRS-80 Model 2. This looks like a Model 12. This is that crazy terminal thing, the DT1, that Shelby from Tech Tangents has, and a couple of their calculators. Ooh, it actually has pricing and stuff in there. Okay, well, we'll look at that in a second. Let's see what else is in here. Here's the Timex Sinclair. Now, this, of course, is the same thing as the ZX81 in the rest of the world. This is how it was sold in the US here. There it is. Yep, it's that Frankly, horrible keyboard, but it was a very inexpensive computer, Z80 based. The Z80 literally does everything. So while it updates the screen, it can't do anything else. It's a very primitive design, but because of that, it was very, very inexpensive. This is, of course, the North American version. I have a few of these already. The joke is, of course, and if you look at the shape of this, it's a wedge shape. People say this computer makes a great doorstop, and that's one of the most useful things this computer can do. That's probably very insulting to people who are fans of this thing, but I didn't say that. Other people have told me that. Flight Simulator requires 16K of RAM. Well, I happen to have the RAM expansion for this, but I cannot imagine that this game is very good. Now, there is rudimentary graphics on this system, and one of the biggest issues I recall is the RAM expansion plugs into the back here on this edge connector, and it's not even gold plated. Those fingers, they're just tinned, and you just touch the RAM expansion, your computer will crash. Of course, the data bus and address bus is extended through there, so it's very unreliable. We got the organizer, which also requires 16K. We have a Super Math cartridge, which also requires 16K. We got something here. Oh, this is the saltwater taffy that Tim sent along. You know, while I was at Asbury Park, there were people selling it. I didn't buy any. Look at that. There it is, saltwater taffy flavors. Blue raspberry, bubblegum, chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon, coconut, creamsicle, grape lemon, mango, molasses, root beer, sea salt caramel, yum, sour cherry, yum, strawberry, super smashing sour, tangerine vanilla, watermelon, and wintergreen. There they all are. You know, I think someone has sent these to me before. Maybe the ones I had before weren't from Jersey and they were from England or something like that. But these are the American type. And that's really cool. Thank you for that. All right, so keeping up in the box here, it appears we do not have the RAM expansion for this, but that's fine. As I mentioned, I have one already. We have an important note for TRS-80 users. Color Basic 1.1 has certain enhancement over Color Basic 1. The only difference you'll notice in the operation of your computer are you have some new stuff. So I guess this CoCo has Color Basic 1.1. We have the cassette interface cable. We have a video cable, which I think is probably for this computer. We have a little DC power adapter here. It is 9 volts, 1 amp. This will be for this. This has, there it is, 9 volt DC power input right there. No power switch. I lifted the foam in the CoCo box. The TRS-80 color microcomputer system setup or startup. Nice, so it's just a little cheat sheet here for getting started with your computer. That's pretty cool. Here is the RAM expansion for the Timex Sinclair, actually. So if I recall, this has 4 116 DRAMs in here to give it that 16K. I don't remember how much memory this has out of the box, like 4K or something like that. So you can't do much with it. This really is necessary for most things, but as I mentioned, you just touch it the wrong way and your computer crashes. All right, in the box here, we have the TV RF switch here. Looks like someone had to redo the cabling here. Maybe those fell apart at some point. And lastly, we have the CoCo, which actually is in the bag. I cannot zoom out enough for this. Let's see how this looks. Oh, the paint is definitely in very sad shape. Let's try to make space here on the bench. Wow, I wonder what happened to this thing. It's like the luster is gone. And one of the issues with these computers is that the paint is so thin. It is like unbelievably thin. Any attempt at trying to clean or whatever just takes it off. If we move it to this side here, you can see the paint's already rubbed off. At least underneath the plastic, it's this kind of beige color. It is not the black color, which is sometimes what you find under these. Now this is chiclet keyboards. Now on the back of this thing, we have an RF connection. We have cassette, serial I/O, and we have 2 joystick ports, a power switch and a reset switch right there. And on the side of the machine, there's a cartridge connector there for like the disk interface and other expansion stuff. The bottom of the case is how the paint should look, like this. Has a little bit of a luster and a shine. This says TRS-80 color computer 15,521. Now I was just talking to Tim the other day about the CoCos, and he said that to have a serial number database is impossible because apparently Radio Shack admitted to just restarting the serial numbers willy-nilly all the time. There's no sense to like how the numbers work. I think based on the model number and the serial number combo, but you can't figure out sequentially how many machines were actually made because they skipped huge chunks, and they just admitted that there's no actual rhyme or reason to the serial number. So there's no way to like infer from the number that this is really only the 15,000th CoCo to ever be made, because there's a good chance that like the numbers restarted or whatever. Why don't I pop the cover off this CoCo? Let's just take a look at what it looks like inside. Let's see if it's been molested or what. Since my last CoCo repair video, I have actually secured a bunch of spare parts. Like I have extra SAM chips and processors and things like that. That was something I didn't have on my last CoCo repair video. So now if I do need to do some chip swapping, it shouldn't be so hard. I will be curious to see inside of this. Has it been molested, as a lot of other CoCos have been? Okay, so let's see. There we go. The top popped right off. It does not look super molested, but we are missing a ROM chip. I don't think that's actually a problem. I think that's the extended color basic ROM socket. I need to get into the camera view there. I think that's the extended color basic ROM, and without it, the machine still works fine. You just need the one in there. Things are looking pretty good in here. Yep, not bad. We lift up the keyboard here, which I know you can't really see. Lift this up. It's got a ribbon cable connection. I don't know if that's like older or newer. The TI experts will know more. We have this shield here, which, is this soldered on? I think it is. These machines are relatively easy to troubleshoot. I have a Dragon 32 or Dragon 64, one sent in from Europe from Tommy, same person who sent in that Mac power supply that I recently did a repair video on the main channel. Well, I don't know how recent it is when you're watching this, but that machine has the same architecture as this. They're based on the same like Motorola reference design, so to speak. So they're basically identical except for the ROMs and a couple of the minor things. Anyways, needless to say, it's relatively simple to fix these things because most of the ICs are these large 40-pin dips. Then there's the RAM under here, and not much else goes wrong with these things. I think they're generally pretty reliable. Like the power supply section, it uses a transformer here, and voltage regulation, it's all pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. So I'm gonna take Tim's word for it that this thing is not working, and I won't even turn this on right now. I'd say the cosmetic condition is pretty nice on this thing. Overall, it's super clean inside, and the keyboard is really, really nice. I just don't know what happened to the top cover. Just looks terrible. Look at this. It's just awful looking. Let's just spray a little Windex on here. I just want to see, does this clean up at all? Now, as I mentioned, you got to be careful with things like Magic Eraser, because if you use Magic Eraser on a CoCo, it absolutely will just kill the paint. It just eats it away. All right, so with a little rubbing with my finger and just some gentle wiping here, that didn't appear to do anything. It's almost like something was stuck, like plastic on this, and it adhered to it. And then when they peeled it off, it like left this terribleness, because some of it's normal shininess, like right here, this is normal paint, but then this part is not normal. Now I do have some Magic Eraser right here, just a little piece, just this. Let's just see what happens if I gently rub this. Does that come off at all? It's really just gonna start taking the paint off, which is what you see there. Yeah, look, notice there, it's just turning silver because it's just completely eating the paint off, and it's so thin. Yeah, I don't think that's not helping at all. Nope, it's just taking the paint off, which doesn't look good at all. So you can see the dull spot there that I just sort of took the paint off. So this thing is gonna need a total respray on the top cover at least. Not to mention, of course, the bottom here where the keyboard is just a mess anyways. I'm gonna put the keyboard into the correct position. There it goes. And I'm gonna put this thing back together. And thinking about this thing, maybe once I fix it, since the paint is in such terrible condition on the top at least, maybe it would be a good candidate for me to try to paint. Now I'm terrible at stuff like that. There's no screw there. Some of the screws didn't fall out. Maybe I'll paint it blue, like the Agvision. You know, that's the super rare TRS-80 CoCo machine that was actually designed for farmers to use to like interface some kind of network. These are not screw holes. I always forget where the actual screw holes are. Okay, those are all falling out. So let's see, what do we have here? One small screw and two big ones. I think the small screws go in the front here. Yeah, I seem to have dropped one of the screws, this one right here, which was definitely in this computer. Now I gotta look around the floor. It's always my problem, and the carpet in here is dark, and when screws fall down, it's really hard to find them. Oh, there it is. It's right here. I found it. So we'll just get that in there. The short screws go in the front. You do not want to install the long screws in the front, otherwise you'll poke a hole right through the plastic, which kind of ruins the top cover. Anyhow, as I was saying, perhaps I need to kind of sand this down and see about spray painting this thing and trying to return the luster. I don't know. I'm just so terrible at that, because if you don't do it so carefully with such light coats, you end up with runs and it looks really ugly and all that. And I'm very impatient when it comes to painting. It is not my forte, and I don't have a good space to do it. Like, I don't have a shed where I can have no dust or leaves or whatever. So if I put this out of my garage, for instance, and I pull the car out and I leave the door open, well, there's going to be like dust and leaves and whatever blowing around in there. So, but it would be kind of fun to paint this thing. Maybe black. Black would look kind of cool, like an all black CoCo. I don't know, you just take this badge off there. The badge is in really good shape, and then the keyboard's in good shape, and the black plastic here, just if the rest of this were black. All right, well, anyhow, thank you very much, Tim, for setting these in. I'm gonna mark them with a Post-it note to say future repair. It's gonna go into the pile that's sitting over there. There's a bunch of Commodore 64s and other things that need repair. So this, along with the Timex Sinclair, and then it's nice to have the original box, to be honest, because then I can store this away safely once it's repainted or whatever, back on the shelf, and it has all these original manuals and stuff. Oh yeah, and before we end this, I'm gonna look through the price catalog there. So we're gonna see how much this stuff cost. You know what, I just realized something. I think this bag is actually what damaged the paint, because I'm looking at it and it's kind of degrading actually, and it has the same pattern on this section right here. When I touched it with my hand, it felt all weird and sticky, and it has the same like mottled appearance as what's going on there. So I'm not going to use that. Yeah, it just feels weird. So I think that's what killed the paint on this thing. So I suppose if you have a CoCo and it's in that bag, take it out of that bag if it hasn't already ruined the machine. All right, let's take a look at this. I know it's a little glary. There's not the best possible setup. Why Radio Shack is the place to shop for your computers. High performance yet low cost. Easy to expand a TRS-80 computer. Complete line of accessories, leasing plans, wide selection of software, service agreements, technical hotline, a newsletter, and the best support. And they did have a lot of stores across North America, 8,500 outlets worldwide, stock TRS-80 equipment. TRS-80 Model 2, oh, it's a Model 16, the most powerful TRS-80 ever. Yes, ever. The Model 3. Now that's really weird that the Model 3 is actually a silver painted machine. It's not white, it's silver. And yet that looks exactly the same as this one, at least from the case perspective. I guess that's just the way the photo came out. Anyhow, let's take a look at this. Wow, $5,000 for 128K one disk drive model. Can we find a year on this thing? Well, let's take a look here. So on the back here, it talks about 300 Radio Shack computer centers. Right there, 1983 TRS-80 catalog, RSC-8CC. So think about the prices when you're looking at this. 1983, $5,000 in 1983. So the Model 16, it has a 16-bit processor, a Z80. I think that's like an optional upgrade. Maybe that is actually included. So it was a dual processor system, had a Z80 in there and a 68,000. So you could add a bunch of RAM to it. I think up to 512K with the 68,000. It had the double density disk drive, so they were 1.2 megabytes, double-sided, as opposed to the original ones in the Model 2, which were only single-sided, single density. You could add a hard drive to this, 33 million characters. I love how it uses characters as opposed to bytes. Model 2 mode runs all Model 2 programs, so that's what the Z80 is there for. Multi-user capable, so yes, with that 68,000, you could run, there was Unix to run on this, Xenix would run on this thing, and it had multi-user capability. So it was a very powerful machine, but imagine going into Radio Shack and spending $5,000. I kind of feel like you walked in there and you're like, oh, I need to buy one of these computers, $5,000. And once you have the hard drive and stuff, probably adds a ton more. You could probably buy like one of everything else in the store, excluding the computers, and maybe only add up to $5,000. Okay, maybe I'm being silly there, but that is so expensive for a computer that was mainly sold at stores that sold to consumers. It was like a consumer store. To have this really high-end business computer, I just don't know how much uptake they actually had with this. I'd really love to hear from people who worked in a place, like a company or whatever, that had Model 16s running Xenix, for instance. How popular was this machine? Because I really can't imagine they sold that many. Not in a Radio Shack store. That just is not the right place. People would buy IBM computers. They would buy, you know, other high-end, like well-known brands if they needed stuff for business, not stuff like this. They did have these awesome thin line drive bays, $2,098 for 2 of them. Wow. I think these were double-sided, double density. Now, would these work on the Model 2? I think they might. Internal memory expansion, 128K, $700. Wow. You could have to add up to 512K. I think you had to add 128K at a time. So another $500 per 128K. So here was a little ad. I'll zoom in here. This is talking about using the Model 16 with the multi-user operating system, I think with Xenix. And you use these DT1 terminals. So it looks like a Model 4, but it was actually just a terminal. So it's lacking the computer in there. And how many of these could you have? Add the terminal to your remote workstation. Up to 3 different programs can be running simultaneously. So I guess the computer itself plus 2 terminals. We'll see how much the DT1 costs once we get to that in the book here. So there's the Model 2, which I've had a bunch of videos on, and it still costs $3,500. So not cheap at all. And of course, the Model 2 is a Z80 based processor. It does support RAM banking, so it supports, I don't remember how much memory now, 512K. Oh, upgrade to 16-bit power and 256K of memory. So you could put the Z80, or I'm sorry, the 68,000 upgrade card inside this thing, but out of the box, it didn't have that. And that would have been an expensive upgrade. There's the Model 2 disk expansion unit, 1150 for, I guess, oh no, that was for 1 drive. 1 drive. 1 floppy drive for $1,100. And if you had one of 3, it was $2,350. That is just hard to take in, the price of this stuff. I just kind of forget, right? So there it is. There's that upgrade kit. Model 2 to Model 16, $1,500. Would be kind of cool to get my hands on one of those. I saw someone selling some of them on eBay at one point, but they were pretty expensive, and I thought, like, I don't know. I mean, like, what am I going to do with that? There was a high-res graphics board that you could get that cost $500. But this thing right here, yep, added the 68,000, 6 megahertz, 128K, upgraded to 256, and it plugged into the expansion card slots, like the chassis that was in there. And that would give this the multi-user capability of the Model 16. So it was a pretty good upgrade. And to be honest, the upgrade path, if you think about it, $1,500 plus $3,500, that totals the price of the Model 16. The only main difference is this has 2 internal disk drives here. Oh, to be honest, no, that's only with 1 disk drive. So the 2 disk drive version costs $5,700. So either way, the 1 disk drive version is the same price as the upgrade plus the Model 2. The only difference is you're not getting these 1.2 meg drives, you're getting the single-sided drive that's in the Model 2. So that's the only real downfall. I guess the other difference is green screen versus white phosphor. Then we have the hard drive. Look at that. $4,500 for primary hard drive system. How big is this? 33 million bytes. What is that exactly? 2 platter, 4 surface, 8-inch disk drive, formatted capacity, primary drive, there it is, 8.6 megabytes. $4,500. If you added this to your Model 2, or your Model 16, I'm sorry, that single disk drive version, you are already almost at $10,000. Wow. That is really hard to process. It looks like they had some bundles you could get here. There it is, the 1 disk drive Model 16 plus the hard drive. And that has the 256K of memory as well. So it had a RAM expansion and the 8.4 megabyte drive for $10,000. And then of course the low cost option for saving $2,000 was the Model 2, of course. In case you were wondering what $10,000 is in today's money, it's $30,000. So you could walk into your Radio Shack store and spend $30,000 on 1 computer and 1 hard drive. The price of a pretty decent car in the US right now is like $30,000. And that was the price of this computer here. I mean, I can't imagine going into Radio Shack and spending $30,000. The store is gone at this point. But even if you walked into a Best Buy or like any other store that sold electronics today, imagine spending $30,000 on one thing. Unless it was like one of those Apple crazy Mac, Power Mac, whatever, those cheese grater things. That's just really hard to process. All right, so the rest of this catalog, I think, is going to be a lot of like combos with the, so the word processor set up for $5,533. So yeah, Radio Shack had a whole pretty extensive catalog of software that you could use with these things. Counting packages, business control with the hard drive there. Only $1,245. Hey, that's a straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost. I mean, if it was like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, Yahtzee. Anyways. Oh, look at these people. I mean, I haven't even been talking about these photos here. Yeah. 7683. They should have just been like 7654. They should have just had fun with the prices and made them sequential. Let's look a little more closely at these photos. Kind of boring, to be honest. I mean, she looks happy though, doing her whatever, her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 work here. I mean, I don't know. It's so silly. Anyways, let's see what else we have at Radio Shack. So you got forms. I mean, do you need a photocopier? $2,500 for a photocopier? Yeah. I mean, these were things that like Xerox would, you know, you'd have in your office and they would cost a fortune. So this was probably really cheap for some way to make copies of documents. Look at that. Looks like a complicated mess inside there. No warm-up time. And we got to take for granted now that you can buy like a multifunction laser printer, scanner, copier thing, which is essentially a photocopier, right? You just put a document on it, hit scan, print, or whatever, and it'll make a copy. And, you know, this thing is not a laser printer or printer of any kind. It just makes like an image of whatever document you have on there. Uses toner, so it's very much like a laser printer, but instead of using an imaging thing to scan and then image, they do have the little smaller one here for $900. Don't really get it. Makes up to 20 consecutive legal or letter-sized copies using coated paper. Oh, it's some kind of weird paper. So it's not using like a toner transfer fuser. Probably like this one is something else. All right, we have printers here. $3,800, 132 columns, lines per minute. Wait, prints 150, 132 column lines per minute. I don't know if that's fast. 400 characters per second in draft and 100 character per second in word processing mode. Bidirectional printing. Here's an interesting thing here. It's a low-cost computer form decollator. Separates and refolds multi-part paper, either carbon leaf or carbon-less. So my thinking is, I don't know what this does. I thought there'd be something to like pull the edges off the paper and pull it apart and then stack it properly, but I'm not sure that's what that's doing exactly. All right, got lots of printers here. This is probably a 9-pin, $399, and 15-inch wide, $1,200. Wow. I just, you know, I was around. I was using computers at the time in 1983. I got my VIC-20 in 1982, but I wasn't really, I don't know, paying attention to what things cost in the Radio Shack, or I don't remember at least. So the prices, they're pretty shocking. Color plotter, $2,000. Looks like it prints really nicely though. And look at this. I was unaware that this was a thing. There's a CoCo 1, and we have like a tablet for digitizing, and it's 350 bucks. Plugs directly into the program slot, so it goes into the expansion slot connector. Interesting, CAD CAM on your CoCo 1. Input precise data coordinates. But that's interesting. Yeah, I've never seen anyone make a video of this. If anyone knows a video of someone using one of these, I'd be very curious to know how it works. And like, what kind of professional applications could you really do with this thing on a CoCo 1? All right, well, we got lots of cables and data drawers and discs and cleaning discs and disc boxes and goodies for your computer. All right, here we are. Into the CoCos. There it is, CoCo 1, 16K of RAM, $399. So interesting is the CoCo 1 that I just looked at, the one that Tim sent in, didn't have the little badge right there. that would usually indicate whether it was a 16K or 64K or 32K or 4K or whatever. I do like how they have a television set here, Radio Shack branded, and it has the matching silver paint. Now, this would be just a normal TV, so you could watch it for television and stuff, but that's pretty cool to see. Who is the color computer for? It's a great choice for anyone who enjoys video games and a system that can be used for many other household, business, and educational tasks. It's ideal for beginners who need something easy to learn, but it won't limit you to simple projects. It's perfect for hobbyists, full-featured computer. It's great. It's kind of fun. You could get the CoCo carrying case here. I like it. Then on the next page, we have $4.99 for, I guess, this has more RAM than the other one. The other one was 16K. This one appears to have extended color basic. It's $100 extra for extended color basic. That was that missing ROM chip that was in this one that didn't have on the motherboard. $100. I was unaware that they charged that much for that chip. It seems like that sort of came in all the CoCos, but I guess early on that was an expensive add-on. It allowed you to have commands to draw like higher resolution graphics right in basic, and I don't think were there in the normal basic. To go to the 32K machine, it was $650, an extra $150. And if you want to upgrade your 4K CoCo, which they don't sell anymore at this point, I think, it was only $49, 4K to 16K, or from 4K to 16K to 32K, $149. And yeah, there it is right there. The extended basic ROM kit, 100 extra bucks. She's teaching her kid there how to use, play a game or something like that, looks like. Does say here the price does not include the required installation. I don't know what that would cost, but yes, you have to pay extra for that. All right, so these pages here, we'll just go over lots of CoCo software that Radio Shack sold, and there was plenty of it. They sold a lot. Oh, including, I made a video about this, the Audio Spectrum Analyzer, also used in Revenge of the Nerds, the movie, during the final concert. And yes, it's an actual cartridge you plug in, and then it gives you a real-time audio spectrum analyzer based on the audio input through the tape port. And it really does work, and it doesn't use any special hardware in the cartridge. It's just software, and that's all, and it can do that. So that's a really cool little feature of the CoCo, that it has the ability to do that in hardware. Now, the CoCo did have disk drives. You could plug a cartridge into the side and then add up to, I think, 2 floppy drives. It was a normal Sugart interface. Oh, and you could have up to 4 drives, actually. So first drive was $5.99. I think it included the interface. And then each one after that was $400. Ouch. Now, these are just normal PC Sugart style drives. I think they were single-sided, to be honest. Yeah, that's per storage, per disk. You could not flip the disk over because like a Sugart drive, it needs the index hole to work. Yeah, pretty expensive. I don't really know how much Apple disk drives cost in 1983. So if anyone knows off the top of their head, I'd love to be able to price compare, but I have a feeling it was probably cheaper than this. Then we're getting into the pocket computers, the little basic machines. These were not made by Radio Shack themselves. They were just rebranded. That's pretty cool. I have a few of these actually, and a few people have given me stuff over the years. We got stuff for the Model 1, which we haven't seen yet advertised. Double density kit, $150. That like goes into the expansion interface to give it double density capabilities. You can add RAM, things like that. They have X10 home automation stuff there. Whole bunch of books. Oh, some like mega 80s furniture for your computers. Check that out. It's so 80s. That's awesome. Here's something I had never seen before. So Radio Shack sold a 300/1200 baud modem. Saves you money on long distance calls. $700. And then you could get an acoustic coupler right here. This was probably 110 baud. And then these would be probably 110 baud. And this would be 300 baud, so $250 for 300 baud. And this is the kind where you have to dial up and then you flip a switch to make the connection. Actually, this modem 2 here says it's auto answer and auto dial. So that's kind of cool. There is the DT terminal. So as I said, Shelby on Tech Tangents, he's got one of these. $700. So it's the Model 4 case. It's white, just like it is. No disk drives. No Z80 in there, and it's just an actual terminal. So RS-232. I don't know how fast it can go. Up to 19.2. It says it right there. RS-232C. So yeah, pretty expensive. I'm curious if the Model 3 is in here because it's going to cost more than that. But then you'd get an entire computer out of it. I suppose if you're going to do the multi-computer thing, well, there you go. That's one way to do it cheaply. Here's something I didn't know Radio Shack sold. It's like a little mini portable teletype, basically, with a built-in acoustic coupler modem. So that way you could bring this with you and then actually interface to your Unix machine back home, your very expensive one. And of course you would type and you would see what you type, and you have to use a paper, so it didn't have a monitor built in. But that way it only cost $1,000. The little Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 100 came out soon after that and completely obliterated the need for this thing, right? Because it had modem capabilities and stuff like that. And it was, of course, it would run on batteries forever. The video text thing. So I think this, combine it with your CoCo, was a cartridge and a modem or something. It was some kind of interactive service, like get your stocks, stuff like that. Kind of like CompuServe. Here's the TRS-80 Model 3, and the case does look silver here. It's just the photo doesn't really show it. So $700 for 4K of RAM with level 1 basic and no floppy drives. And then $999 for 16K Model 3 basic or level 3 basic. I don't know why it says Model 3 basic, but I think it was level 3 as opposed to level 1. Or no, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Model 3 basic. It's kind of hard to believe they actually sold a 4K version of this with no floppy drive. So you'd have to use a cassette drive to do anything. And what could you really do with 4K? I mean, fine for like a very, very basic entry system, but that seems a bit disingenuous to even sell that, offer as an option. Hopefully you could just easily upgrade it to 16K, although opening this thing up is a bit of a pain and, maybe not good for a beginner, and the whole motherboard is encased in an RF shield, so it's not even easy to access. Looks like here they have a home starter system for $1,300, includes a printer and the cassette player, so still no disk drive. And then this one here, 16K, includes the cassette recorder, dot matrix printer, draft quality, Model 3 basic. Does it really not have floppy drives? Yeah, it looks like for $1,800, you still don't have any disk drives? That seems kind of horrible, actually. I guess they did sell software that came on cassette. So if you had the 16K version, you'd like load your program in there and you could do stuff. But so far, I'm not seeing the disk drive as an option. What you do have here is the RS-232 serial expansion board for 99 bucks. So you could add that to this, and then you could access BBSs and stuff. The only problem is that the display on this actually is 64 columns, I think by 16. So it's not as good as that terminal, the DT1, which we saw back here. This actually has 80 by 25. So it was a bit better for using Unix systems than this thing. When the Model 4 came out, that sort of rectified that problem. 16K RAM expansion kit. I assume this upgrades your 4K to 16, and that's 49 bucks. And if you want to go to the upgraded basic and more RAM, it's $299. And so far, I'm still not seeing the floppy drive upgrade. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, a lot more expensive. Low price, new low price. I think this computer came out in 80, something like that, the Model 3. So we have 1 or 2 built-in drives. That would be the price difference right there. I think this should have more RAM, maybe. Yes, 48K, so 3 times more memory than those other ones we saw. But 2 disk drives, 48K, $2,295, and it says here, same as above without the RS-232. Okay, so yes, you can get the 2 disk drive model for $2,295, which came with the serial port board. I don't know if it has a parallel board. That was an extra board as well. Or the 1 drive without the RS-232 for a bit cheaper. And you could plug in 2 additional floppy drives, and they cost $449 each. All right, check this guy out here. He's using that awesome slanted desk thing going on here. That Radio Shack does sell that desk. Looking really good in his suit and all with the wood grain wall there. And then here you go, 2 ladies here. She's got her glasses. They're smiling at each other. She's really excited to use a TRS-80 Model 3 with 2 floppy drives. And on the following pages, we have hard drives here. So this is for the Model 3, and I guess the Model 1 as well. 5 meg hard drive, so not as much capacity as the one for the Model 2, but definitely cheaper. And then we have the high-res graphics board, something else again that I know third-party companies made and stuff, and it basically would like hijack the video signal, and you could get 640 by 240 monochrome graphics resolution. I just don't think there were that many programs that used it. So yeah, assembly language to control it, quickly draw lines. I guess it has some kind of graphical basic extended things to work with it. I just don't know how much software ever used that, and it was a relatively expensive price, almost the same price as an entire color computer like a CoCo. And this is just an add-on board. Radio Shack's network controller. Access programs simultaneously from disk and low-cost Model 3 computers. Connect up to 16 non-disk stations to a single host system. Really? What? How did that work? Does anyone know about this? Did it use like the cassette port or serial port or Network 3 operating system? Yeah, that's interesting. Cables are required. And there's an older version right here with a knob on it. Connect up to 16 TRS-80 computers to a single host. All cables were included. Requires a Model 1 or 3 host computer with disk drive and up to 16 Model 1 or 3 stations or a color computer host with disk drive and up to 16 color computers. How did that work? Must have used the serial port or something, but the thing is the TRS-80 Model 1 and 3 doesn't have a built-in serial port unless you add an add-on card. And this doesn't really talk about what you need for that. So my assumption is somehow this is using the cassette interface port to actually load off of a floppy drive on the main host computer. And it must be really, really slow how that works. OneDrive printer optional, 48K. The more expensive one here says cables available separately. It says see page 26. I skimmed over that. I'm gonna check that out. So look at this, color computer to network 3. 4-pin DIN to DB25, 20 bucks. Well, the color computer did have a serial port built in, and then DB25, I guess, is RS-232. I don't see anything else here about the network interface cables, though. So this was for extending your serial. This all looks like RS-232 serial stuff. We have a selector switch for connecting up multiple devices to one serial device, and a parallel one, and that's it. So my assumption is with this thing is to use it with a CoCo, you need that extra cable. Anyhow, if anyone knows how this stuff works, I would love to know more about it. I thought I knew about Tandy machines, but it seems like there's some stuff that I've never seen and never heard of, which is pretty cool. Alrighty, I think I'm gonna end this video here. I thought it was gonna be pretty quick because I didn't even turn those computers on. But in the end, I went through this catalog and that was a lot of fun, actually. So thanks very much, Tim, for sending in the Color Computer 1 and the Timex Sinclair 1000/ZX81 and all the original papers and cassettes and stuff like that. Future repair videos will be needing to happen where I get both of these computers working. I'm not sure I've ever fixed one of these, actually. I think all the ones I've ever had have always worked. So that'll be interesting to check that out finally. And the CoCo one, well, that'll be fun to fix when I get to it. And that is going to be that. So yeah, like I said, thanks again, Tim. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you knew about some of this stuff that I talked about in this catalog, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Patrons, scrolling up inside. Thanks very much. All the usual stuff on YouTube. Yeah, I've said it so many times. And if you watch my channel, you've heard it a million times as well. So that's going to be that. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.